welcome to Light in the Dark podcast. I am your host, Lady B. Before I introduce today's guest, I want to stress the words trigger warning. Topics discussed today may be triggering to some. You have been warned. Also, neither I nor the guest are licensed therapists, psychologists, counselors, etc. We are only sharing our experiences and or testimonies. If you need a licensed therapist, psychologist, counselor, etc., please seek a licensed therapist, psychologist, counselor, etc. There is no shame in getting your mental health together. I repeat, there is no shame in getting your mental health together. Now, on that note, let's start the show.
The guest that I have with me today is Zanye.
Yeah, my name is Zanye. I love to laugh. I love to smile. I don't like seeing other people upset. Neither do I like being upset. And I'm just a very helpful person in general. So I don't want to ever see anybody, upset, mad, sad, anything like that. I'm a very caring person.
We just get into these topics, and I'm just gonna say trigger warning.
I mean, I feel like most of the topics are triggering and they should require a trigger warning.
What I do want to say is that I am not a licensed therapist, and neither is Danya. We are basically just talking about the things that we done went through, and the healing that came with it. So from trauma to healing. Hello, somebody. So yeah, we're not out here giving any kind of advice at all. If you need a therapist, seek a therapist. If you need professional help, by all means, please seek professional help. We are not professionals. We're not claiming to be professionals, and we're
Mm-mm,
not trying professionals. We
mm-mm.
have no degrees in any of this. So, with that being said, that's my disclaimer. Anybody trying to sue me, So, the topic of suicidal tendencies or ideologies or abuse, it's up to you, whichever one you talk about. I'll chime in eventually, but it's all you.
Throughout my life, I have been abused physically, mentally, emotionally, just all kinds of abuse you can name it. I've had it. It started from the age of 6, which was when I moved with my dad. And ever since then, even though it wasn't as much physical abuse, it was mainly verbal and emotional abuse. I got that from all of my family on his side. So my dad, my grandma, my aunties, my uncles, some other things that were just, I would consider physical abuse. Maybe not other people, but I would. My dad, he would tell me that I wasn't good enough. He wouldn't tell me that I was pretty and stuff like that. So I grew up kind of thinking like, you're not what you are or who you want to be. And I used to fantasize about being this person or being this other girl, then loving myself because I didn't know how to love myself because I was being so mistreated by everyone else around me. I had recently got out of that situation, but even though I just got out of it, the way what helped me was really just God. It was God. He would tell me that everything will be okay. You got this. I'm not gonna put you through something that you can't handle. I'm not gonna do that to you. He never forsaken me or anything like that. He's always been very good to me, especially when it came to that throughout my whole life. Because there's been many times that, I did have some suicidal tendencies because of the abuse that I faced. There's been many times that I just tried to take my life. You can pretty much name it. I used to try to walk into the middle of the street to get ran over by the cars and stuff. I used to tie my neck up with like a belt or a rope or something and then pass out like that. I used to try to cut myself, but since I didn't have anything sharp, it wouldn't really cut anything. Just things like that. And even though I would want to give up, God was always in my ear telling me that you're here for a purpose. And I believe that everyone on that's put on this earth is here for a purpose. Nobody is a mistake, okay? And even though you go through these bad things that happen in your life, everything is trials and tribulations. All you got to do is really just talk to God, pray, read your Bible. I'm telling you, God is not going to forsaken you. He has always loved you. He's not going to let you down like that. No matter how many times you let him down, because I know there has been times, especially when I have been, through my abuse throughout this whole time, where I failed him, and I know that I did, but he has never left my side. You guys don't Even though it's hard, don't give up because God has you. Just always remember that. If you don't remember nothing from this podcast, just remember that God has you, and he's never gonna forsaken you. He's never gonna do anything wrong to you, and he's never gonna give you something that you can't handle. Because it took me a minute through the abuse. It took me a minute. I always had someone in my ear telling me that I wasn't good enough for something. But I would go talk to God, and God tell me I am good enough. I would not be here today if it wasn't for God.
Amen.
This is one of the reasons why I'm here, I believe, is to spread joy and to help others.
That's it.
That's all I want to do.
And you don't look like what you've been through.
Yeah, that's because of God. I'm
Yes.
telling you, like you can't also hold a grudge against what you've been through either. You have to ask God. I've asked God so many times to forgive me for holding these grudges and release me from that. Get me out of that toxic mindset because it's really not good. It will damage your mental health and your physical health. I'm telling you, I used to get sick from that stuff. I will be literally sick. But you gotta ask for forgiveness. You gotta trust God. That is the main thing. You have to trust God.
Yeah, but that's hard though. Like when you're going through something, that's
It
hard.
is hard. It is hard because I know there's gonna be days you're gonna be like, well, why does he did that to me? Why did he do this to me? Why did he let this happen? It happens for a reason. He even if it's something bad, he uses you. He helps you grow. That's how he builds the person that he wants you to be. It's not always really just a bad thing because that's what happened to me. All the bad examples, all the abuse, that's something that built me up as a person. Whether I want to believe it or not, that's what it is. That's what happened. It's going to build you up how he wants it to be built up. That you're his child.
That's important for people to know too. When you're going through, you don't really think about, oh God, like what is it supposed to help me do? Like how is this supposed to help? You thinking like, oh God, why me? Like
Yeah.
what did I do to deserve this? And that's not even the case.
Nope. It's literally just to build your character, to raise you how he wants you to be in the future. That's really all it is.
I mean, you're right though. I remember many years ago just being in an abusive relationship, and at the time it's kind of like, well, dang, what did I do to deserve this?
Yeah.
And it's like, you just put that pressure on yourself. But when you come out of it, and later on you be like, okay, well now I see the good that came from that. Yes, it was a bad situation, but there's good that came from
Yeah.
that takes a while to actually get there.
It is. And it's really hard to just stay positive in general. Oh, it is so hard. Because I used to, actually, before this, I was very peppy. Very peppy. That was just my personality. Peppy, happy, just goofy, all over the place. But when I, was getting abused throughout that whole time, I was really negative. I didn't want to do anything. I was antisocial, which is not me. And I didn't want to do anything. But through that time, you really need to try to stay positive, or at least like have just tell yourself every day something positive. Even if it comes out of something negative, there's always something positive to something negative. Believe it or not. Believe it or not. Because like exactly what you just said, when you came out of that abusive relationship, you saw the good that came from it. It is hard, but it's possible because I'm one of the living people that did that.
What you said, God will never leave you. Like we often leave,
Yeah,
because there was
we
a time,
do.
I love Jesus, and then when I came back, like Jesus was still there with
He
open
was
arms,
still
like
there.
welcome back, my
Mhm.
child.
Mhm.
That's an amazing feeling.
He is never going to leave you. And that is what I love. That is what I love the most. Because I just be like, you fall off a little bit, but as soon as you come back, everything's all good. It's not like that if you were to do that to a family member, just leave and then you come back and they're like, where you been?
Right? I know, just with open arms, like, hey, welcome back.
Yeah. And that's what I love. I love God. I love God. He's really amazing. He's been amazing to me. He's been amazing to my family. Even though like I'm still going through hard times, you could never tell, because of God. He is amazing,
Yeah,
truly.
that's the beautiful part though,
It
because
is.
there are so many people, bro, who look like what they've been through, and to like not look like what you've been through, man, it's nothing but God right there.
Exactly.
And it's like,
Exactly.
like we have traumatic, like everybody has traumatic situations.
Of
And if
course.
you have it, then as they say, keep living. But to like get to the healing part of it though, like you need God. Like you can't do that by yourself.
So many people just, I don't want to say they ignore him, but it seems like they forget that he's there to help them out with that kind of stuff, like through their traumas. So they don't even ask, they don't do do anything. They just go through it.
But sometimes you blame God though. Like, why'd you let this happen? Like, this is your fault because you let this.
See,
Like,
I don't. It's hard when you're going through a really hard time. You do blame God. And, honestly, you kind of gotta. I tried to stay away from that because I know that was just me not in my right mind because I was so upset. I was so depressed. I knew that was me not in my right mind because I would never, never say that. But you gotta kind of flip that switch. Yeah, it's gonna be real challenging, but it's not a good switch to have. It's not a good mindset to have.
I agree. But when you going through it, you kind of sort of just have that thought. Like, you know what, God? Like, you allowed this to happen. Like, this is on you. Like, I did that. I'm like, I was mad, bro. Like, I was super mad, bro. Because I'm like, like, you could have stopped it, and yet you did. And no lie, though. Right now, what I'm doing right now is, to me, is from what I went through then. Like, that traumatic situation, which I'm not going to talk about, like, right now. Well, it's not part of the topics that we talking about. Like, we talk about abuse and suicidal tendencies. But, to me, going through that allowed me to be here.
Yeah.
Because that changed something in me.
And
that allowed me, like, once that one thing happened, then everything else that God wanted,
just
like,
it followed.
followed into place. Yeah. But
That was the whole reason for doing what he does. That is literally the whole reason. He just wants you to be in a place that he needs you to be in life. Ooh, I sound like I'm.
sound like you preaching. I ain't mad at you though, because I be doing that too sometimes, and you
Just,
don't even mean it, but still, it's just the way that it is though.
I mean, I love to talk about, just God in general. He's just a really amazing person to me. But speaking of suicidal tendencies, my uncle actually works for the suicide hotline. And I tried to get a job there when I went over there because at that time I was unemployed. And he was like, you have to have some type of degree. And I felt kind of bad because, like, for me, I feel like that would be like just another way of helping people. And I would have loved to do something like that to save another life.
But you know what though? Like, you don't have to work for the suicide hotline to save another life. Like, just being your, in general, everyday you never know by having a conversation with someone whose life you are saving. Sometimes all I gotta do is listen.
Yeah.
I learned that the hard way because at one point I was suicidal, and all I had to do was just, like, I'm not gonna say all I had to do was just talk to somebody, but
Right.
talking to somebody actually helped.
It
Like,
helped.
that person just listening and not judging, just listening actually helped.
Yeah, because I know when I was in school, like, I just graduated like last year. But when I was in school, like junior year, actually, sophomore and junior year. And I think that's another reason why I promise you, it's all God because it's been at least roughly five. It was like five people that I knew. They all were suicidal. They were talking about like doing these really bad things to themselves and some of them to other people along with themselves. And all I had to do was just listen to their problems. Sometimes they will need some words of encouragement, which did not come from me, if you want me to be honest. They came from God. He was talking through me. And you know what? It helped them a lot. Like a lot of them, maybe all of them, they were still here the day of graduation. They were still there.
I think all it takes sometimes is just for us to be obedient to what God is telling us.
Yeah.
Because at that moment, even though it wasn't you, you was being open and you
Yeah.
was saying what it was that He told you to say. Let God use you, and that's it.
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
So as far as the abuse, like, how
Yeah.
old were? Because I don't know if you mentioned like how old you were when abuse occurred.
Well, the abuse started as soon as I turned 6, which was when I moved with my dad. I was 6 years old, but the abuse did not end until actually last year, so about 17, 18.
Oh wow, like over a decade.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So it's like it's God. I'm literally telling you because growing up, like you have other things in your life that happens other than what you have going on at home. You got like at the time I was also working and I was going to school. I was in extracurricular activities. Let's just say that. So I had all of those things going on at the same time with that abuse, the abusive stuff too. And it's hard. I'm telling you, it's really hard, especially it's already hard for teenagers just in general because there's a lot that goes on within these schools. There's a lot that these teenagers worry about. Do you know how many teenagers that I seen? It was like my I think my sophomore year, and it was at least 20 women that got pregnant within my grade. Teenagers. And I know they were worried about that. It's a lot. So we have that going on, and then we have all this other stuff, and then for me on top of that, on top of all of this other things that I had going on, I had the abuse to go with it. So it was a lot of pressure on me, a lot of stress on me from that. But the only reason why I stayed as positive as I did, or at least tried to get through it even if I wasn't positive, was because of God. He was the only one that made that way. He helped me through it.
Yeah, and
He
like
helped
you
me
still
through
in
it.
your right mind, dude. Like
Mhm.
you're not out here, in an insane asylum.
Yeah, you would think through everything I've been through because I was sexually abused many times because we have many men in my family. So that was the other abuse I was talking about earlier that I considered. I was sexually assaulted many times, sexually assaulted, molested from pretty much every guy in my family. And so that was probably like 20 guys,
Whoa.
like just constantly up until the age of like 15, because I was scared to say something, but I still had God on my side, and I was so thankful that he was there, because when I didn't have nobody to talk to, that's the person that I did talk to, especially about just everything going on. He would be the one helping me out, talking me through everything, showing me things that I have never seen before. He's
Right.
been so amazing, I'm telling you, so amazing.
Okay, so I'm not gonna sit here and say or speak on like how I would handle something like that because God knows I don't know how I would. But the fact that, like I said before, you're not out here in the insane asylum, you're not out here taking medication, not out here drinking your life away. Like you are, like you don't look like what you've been. Like to look at you, no one would be able to tell. Like, okay, this is what she's experienced in her life, and that really is nothing but God. Like for real, for real.
It really is.
That's amazing, dude. Like, oh my God.
Yeah, that's why I love him so much, because I know I'm going through these, and these are just trials and tribulations. I learned that at a young age, first of all. See, I didn't know what he had in store for me at that time, but as I was getting older, I started to see what my trials were. And that's also what I had in the back of my mind. I was just like, well, this is all gonna be over soon. This is just him preparing me for what he wants me to be in the future. Yes, it's hard to think about it like that, but there were days that I thought it's gonna be fine. You're gonna grow through this. This is to help you, even though it hurts right now. It's to help you, not hurt you. That was what he told me.
Like, I am twice your age, and I never thought about it like that. That shows you that age is nothing but a number because I never thought about it like that. So, another question is like the traumas that you have just mentioned, have you spoken about those publicly before?
No, actually, I am content with all of it. I've never been on a live. This is my first time being live on anything. It's my first time being on live, but I'm actually very comfortable. I'm comfortable.
It's not a bad thing.
Don't be afraid to talk to God. Please don't, cause he will get you through it. I'm telling you guys, like
I
he
feel
will
like
get you through it.
to heal from a situation, like you have to go to God and have the conversation with
You
God.
have to. I am telling you guys, he will deliver you.
Okay, so let's get back to like the suicidal ideation. I mentioned that to somebody because of a situation I had like earlier this year, and they was like, "Oh, you should talk about it." And I was like, "Oh, I haven't healed from what caused the suicidal ideation. Like I've healed from the fact that I had like the suicidal
Oh,
tendency." And
yeah.
for me to put this on Facebook like right now, I know once was like in a room of like maybe 10 people, and then only like a select few other people actually know that I was suicidal like a few months ago. But that situation that caused it, I have not healed from. But the fact that I'm still here, like the whole like suicidal thing, like I'm over it. Like I done healed from that because I'm like, even attempting suicide those few times, like God did not allow what I thought I wanted to happen. He didn't allow it to happen. And to me, that's the healing part. Like the suicidal attempt is the trauma, and what led me through that is part of the trauma. But the fact that I'm still here, this happened in like January
Oh,
and what February, January and November of last year.
that
It's
wasn't too
it's
long ago.
it was not earlier this year. Yeah, not that long ago. But yeah, the fact that I'm still here like right now shows me that like, hey, God has plans.
Hmm.
and God is like, you know what, we gonna get you through this, or I'm gonna get you through this. And this is what I have in store. You
Mm-hmm.
know, like you have to talk to people. The
Mm-hmm.
things that are in you, you have to let it out. And I knew that that's one of the reasons why I chose that topic, because it was in my mind for about 3 weeks or so.
Ooh,
About
so that's
this
time.
being one of the first topics to talk about. Because there are a lot of things that in a person's mind, because that's where it starts in your
Yeah.
mind, that will make you want to harm yourself.
Mm-hmm. I
And there are
definitely
so
agree with
many
that.
different things, so many outside things. But once we hold it in, then it's like, and start thinking about it. Then
Yeah.
we go down that path that's kind of like this dark path, like this dark tunnel.
Yeah.
And I remember just thanking God, like when I attempted it, I woke up like 90 minutes later. And I'm not going to say what it was that I did because I don't encourage anyone to do it.
Right.
I was up like 90 minutes later, and the time that I attempted it before, I was 2 hours later.
Ooh.
And now
Well,
I,
I
I seem to
hear.
be kind of sort of comfortable talking about this for whatever reason, which I know is God too, and to talk about it in this kind of a way, because I used to be like this private person who just kept everything in. I didn't really need people to know anything about me. You can tell me about you. Y'all need to know about me, like straight up. Like that is nothing but Jesus.
Yeah.
The fact that I'm still here and tried it so many times, but like once is one time too many.
Right.
But just trying it so many times, it's like now I have it in my head, like, okay, whatever it is you're going through, God got you, because what you tried before is not the way. I'm about
Mm-hmm.
to say it is
Mm-hmm.
not the way, and so go to God, like with the issues and problems, and like that's what I started doing because I thought I couldn't make it through that situation, and I'm here living in that situation. But the important part is that I'm still here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Man, and I know that this right here is part of that reason. I know that things that I have in the works is part of that reason. Like
Oh,
doing
that's
this, you never really know who you will affect.
yeah.
Like we don't know that stuff. But the fact that, we're both open and we're both talking about it and allowing people to know that, like, hey, it's okay to go through stuff. It's okay to talk about it. Healing will come. Talk to Jesus. I'm not saying, hey, just sweep it under the rug and take it to Jesus. No,
No, you don't
no.
have to do that. Mm-mm.
The
Mm-mm.
Lord made therapists, and not every therapist is for everybody, but
Mm-hmm.
like he made the doctor in the hospital, he made therapists too. Like, don't be afraid to go to a therapist. And I know from personal experience that therapy is not cheap. It's not. But it is so worth it. And if you can find like a really good therapist, one that, genuinely cares about you and what you're going through, that just makes it so much better. Or talk to, your pastor. Go and talk to somebody that you trust. Somebody cares for you. You don't have to go to, like an actual licensed therapist, but you can go to a guidance counselor. That some jobs, you can actually talk to a therapist. Like they give you phone numbers. You can talk to someone at church that you feel comfortable talking to. There are so many different options. Thing is to trust God first of all,
Oh
and then
yeah.
open your mouth and speak. Like whenever He leads you to someone, then open your mouth and speak. Because holding it in, oh my God, from trauma to healing. Like I can't stress that enough. Abuse is very traumatic, no matter what kind of abuse it is.
Yep.
Very traumatic, whether it's emotional, mental, so on and so forth. It's still traumatic, but there is healing. And once again, we're not licensed therapists.
Mm-mm.
We're not
Mm-mm.
even trying to be therapists.
Mm-mm.
Even gonna go and say we're not trying to be preachers.
Oh no. No.
Coming out is coming out,
Uh-uh.
and apparently it's supposed to come out. I actually thought on the times I had wanted to be that, them therapists have to go to school for a long time. And not only that, but they have to constantly go to become a licensed therapist and to stay a licensed therapist. They have to constantly go to school.
I want to thank everybody that is a therapist and for what they do. I will do that. So thank you.
You
Thank
know
you.
what? I want to go a step further because I don't want to thank every therapist because some of them suck. I'm sorry. Hey, I'm just gonna keep it 100. Some of them genuinely don't care. Some of them is there for
Well,
the money. I'm so serious, and will give you bad advice.
every profession, like you do have doctors that's like that don't care. You have just assistants of all kind that don't care. Just, but I feel like if you are a therapist, I feel like you are one of the main ones that should care. So if you
But
don't care,
they're still human though, and that's the
they
thing.
are.
They're still human. See,
Yeah.
we can't put them on like a different pedestal than we do everybody else. We shouldn't even put people on pedestals, but still, that's a whole
Probably.
nother story. But they're still human. They still have
Yeah.
emotions. Who cares about
Humans are gonna make mistakes. Humans. People are gonna make mistakes.
But yeah, so shout out to the therapists who care, who genuinely care, and who are genuinely out here giving, good services and helping their clients. Shout out to them.
Yes.
I've been in therapy.
There's
Like,
nothing wrong with that.
I
You're
know.
helping yourself out to not
Listen,
be in a
this is
bad
not even
position.
like this is not even part of the topics that we was going to talk about. But since we're here in the black community, listen to go there. In the black community, there is a stigma about therapy. We need to kill it.
Is it
Oh
that
my.
'cause it costs too much? I don't know. That's what my dad told me.
Okay, so I understand, the whole cost too much thing. But like I said, take it to Jesus. What happens in the house stays in the house.
Hmm.
Go put it on the cross.
Hmm.
Don't tell nobody. Those are things that in the black community, that is what we hear. And so therefore
Yeah.
we don't really think that mental health is important, but it really is. I understand go say it to Jesus. I get it. I understand it. I'm black. I get it. I understand it. But mental health is important.
Yeah.
So just like I said earlier, just like Jesus made the doctor, a therapist is a counselor. I'm quite sure there is a little difference in between the two. But anyway,
I
they're
think a therapist
doctors.
has more.
More
Like, I
credentials.
don't know. When I think of counselor, I think of like a school counselor. I don't know why.
All right, so a therapist has more credentials, I believe.
I think so.
Anyway, that's another topic. I don't really know. Anyway, I'm gonna stay in my lane. Mental health is very important, and we're understanding that more and more now, especially with the pandemic and all. Therapy. Oh my God, like therapy is very important. Therapy help. I wish Black people would stop saying, "Don't tell nobody," or "You'll be okay," or "It's all
Yep.
in your mind," or "Your imagination," or "You will
Hmm.
be all right." Saying those
Hmm.
things to people does not help.
Mm-mm.
It really doesn't.
It really doesn't. It actually just makes it worse if you want to be honest. Because
Yeah,
my
it
dad
makes
he used to
people.
say it makes it worse. It really does, especially if you like have depression or something like that. My dad used to do the same thing. Like I opened up to my dad about me being depressed and trying to commit suicide and everything. And I told him I think I need to see a therapist. And he told me that there was no reason to be depressed. It was all in my mind. I don't need to go to a therapist, and it costs too much to go to a therapist. And we don't have the money for that right now. He told me all of those things, but he mainly told me that because he felt like I didn't need to go to a therapist when I needed it the most. And
Yeah,
it's
which
sad.
is very
It's sad.
sad.
We have to stop doing that. Like you said, mental health is very important. It's just as important as being physically healthy. Just as important, if not more important.
I agree with that. Like as the Black community though, like my God, like I wish that first of all, I wish we had access or better access to better healthcare, better
Yes.
access to
Yes.
psychologists, and some people are ashamed of that word, and some people, they hear the word therapist and they want to run and be like, "Oh, I'm not crazy." You don't have to be crazy to talk to a
No.
therapist.
Yeah. I don't know what it is with that kind of mentality, but it's not like that. It doesn't always have to be like that. Yeah, you see that all the time in movies, but just because you see something in the movie doesn't mean it's real.
Okay, say that one more time for the people.
No, seriously, y'all. It's true. Just because you see something in a TV show, in a reality show, in a movie, does not mean it's always real.
Reality TV.
Perception is key.
Yeah,
Yeah,
reality
something may seem like it looks like something else, but it doesn't have to always be that way.
as a people, I want us to get better.
I do
Like,
too. I do too. We can make it better. We can. We just have to put in effort.
one person at a time. That's
Yeah.
how I really feel about it. I asked one person, I was like, "Do you believe that you could help change the world?" My reason for asking that question was for the simple fact that I believe that we all have the power to change the world. If
Yes.
you help one person positively, let me put it better way, who helps another person positive, and the chain keeps going, you can help change the world. All it takes is to start the change. Is one person.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I would
That's what
definitely
I'm
believe
loving about
that.
this podcast. I'm so serious. I know at first I was like really hesitant when God was like, "Hey, this is what you're gonna do," and I was like, "Oh, okay, you got jokes, all right." Like, Jesus got
No,
jokes
he,
today.
he do not be playing with you. He be for real. Like you be like, ha ha, that's funny. I'm not gonna do that. That's not me. No, he's gonna make it to you. He's gonna make that you.
I'm a prime example right now. I'm trying to tell you, I didn't used to talk to nobody. My mama is even like, "You know what? You're more talkative now." I was like, "You know what? I sure am."
Yeah, when I met you, you were like that. I was like, huh. I would have never thought.
That's
I
because
would
I
never.
already made some steps before you showed up. already done the work.
I mean, I'm really glad that I did get to meet you, though. You know, I'd be looking forward to our visits. Yeah, I'm really glad. And for you to tell me, like, about your situation from earlier, I would have never guessed it. I would have never guessed it.
That don't look like what I've been through.
Nope, not at all. And like you said, that's just from God. He's going to use the people that He needs to use to get where they need to be and to where He wants them to be.
Right? Right. Somebody had told me, you know what? You know, what you go through is not about you, it's about somebody else. And I used to hate hearing that because
Hmm.
I'm like, yo, but I'm the one that's in pain. But then I got to the point, I'm
Yeah.
like, you know what? You're right. Because had that other person gone through it, they may not have survived it. But the fact that you did survive it, you can actually talk to that other person. You can
Hmm.
tell your story. You can tell your testimony. That's exactly what you're doing right now, whether or not you know it. But that's exactly what it is that you're doing right now. Because what you went through,
Hmm.
yes, when we go through it, we think like, okay, well, what did I do to deserve this? Why me? So on and so forth. But then once you come out of it, then it's like, okay, well, that was about me a little bit, but the bigger picture is that now I can share this story with someone else. Now this person can be aware that they are not alone, that they are not the
Yeah.
only one to go through whatever it is that they're going through. Which is the point of this podcast. I'm so is to let people know that like, hey, we've all gone through some traumatic situations, and you are not by yourself. Like I've gone through stuff that people don't know about. We've all gone through something, and there's someone else out there who's done gone through it too, or who is going through it like right now, and they feel like they're by themselves. Like, why am I the only one to ever go through this? And you're not. So the point of this is to let people know that like, hey, you're not alone. You're not by yourself. We're here to talk to. There are options. There's therapy. You know, there's the suicide hotline. There's a domestic violence hotline. There are options out there. There
Hmm.
is light at the end of the tunnel. There's light in
Hmm.
the dark. Thank God for
You
Jesus.
might not be able to see it. It's there. It's
Yo,
always been
like
there.
my God, my God. I feel like I'm about to start preaching, which I'm not trying to do. Like I'm really not. Yo, when I was even given this title for this podcast, oh my goodness, like it clicked and it made perfect sense. Jesus came to be the light in this dark world.
Hmm.
But we as followers of Christ and we as believers of Christ, we can also be that light in this
Yeah.
dark world.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Agree.
Yeah, I feel like I'm about to start preaching. So I'm gonna calm down.
No, keep going. I'm enjoying this. Keep going.
Trauma to healing, I'm not even really sure when I thought of it, but it popped, it clicked, and I'm like, okay, that is it. Because
That's nice.
we all go through something traumatic, and some of us don't make
Hmm.
it through it.
Oh yeah.
So we all experience something traumatic. Let me put it that way. But some of us don't make it through. Some of us are successful in killing ourselves, and that's
Yeah.
sad to say. And that's very emotional, but that's very
Yeah.
sad to say. But the healing part, there is healing, and it starts with Jesus. It starts with
Yeah.
realizing that, like, hey, I need help. I can't do this on my
Hmm.
own, and just go to Jesus. Like that's the healing part.
That
Like
is
Jesus
where it's
didn't
gonna
come to
get better.
condemn the
That's where
man.
it's gonna start. It's where it's gonna start. It may start off small. It may start off small. Seriously, you may be like, "Oh, that's one thing that's good to me that happened today." But eventually, you'll start feeling good. You'll start feeling better about your situation, what you're going through. You start following that light.
And that's what I had to do. You know, I was like, you know what, today was a good day. And
Yeah.
build off of that. And like the next day,
Mhm.
today was a good day too.
Mhm.
And when you have a bump in the road, be like, you know what, I had a little minor setback, but overall, today was still a good day.
Yep.
I remember there was this guy that I used to work with, and I probably seen him like twice. And then after that, he wasn't there anymore. That first day, you know, he was like a really cool, really chill guy. And then, you know, like before that, you know, I was suicidal, which had nothing to do with him. And then I made it through that, right?
Mhm.
I found out that he died in a car accident.
Oh no.
And I was like, you know what? Here I am, and I had wanted to die, but here he was, and I'm quite sure he wasn't ready to die. Like he didn't want to. And it dawned on me, like, who am I to try to take a life that's not even my own?
Right.
Like the moment I gave myself to Christ, my life was not my own anymore.
Yep.
So who am I to try to take what is not mine? And I felt some type of way, and I was like, you know what? Like he actually passed away. You know, he died in a car accident, and here
Yeah.
I am trying to kill myself.
Yeah.
I was like, like, you know what, that's something I can't do.
Yeah.
And even when I hear about other people who done passed away, like especially recently, and I'll be like, man, there are some things in life that they didn't get a chance to do. But here I was, like trying to take my own life. Man,
Oh
you know,
goodness.
nothing but God. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm here because of God.
I'm not gonna sit here and just lie to you about anything, but I feel like that might have been a sign from him to you that, hey, you need to value yourself a little bit more. You don't need to take your life. Your life is limited already. So I feel like that was just a sign for you to realize that through him. That probably sounds really bad,
You know
but
what? No, 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 don't do that. Like I received exactly what you just said. I think you have been here before. But yeah, I didn't look at it that way. But I was like, wow, you know what, you're right. And for me to know someone for like 2 days and for you to have that kind of an impact on me, because when he died, it was like,
he was
whoa.
like, wow.
Yeah,
Like,
like I just saw this person like
yeah,
a couple of months ago.
yeah.
Man, like you really can't take life for granted,
No.
bro.
This
Like,
this is a deep topic.
man, of
This
course. Like
is a
that's
deep
deep
topic.
seated issues. Like that's what we talking about.
Yeah,
Deep
this is
seated issues. To let people know that it's okay to talk about this stuff.
yeah. Go to somebody that you trusted, that you know will listen to you, that you know that could help you out in a time of need like that. If you don't have anybody, like I didn't have anybody, you can always go to God. God's doors are always open. His arms are always open too. And He'll send somebody your way.
So
You ain't
true.
gonna be alone. You're not gonna go through it alone. Just ask Him. If you really need somebody, He will make sure that somebody comes towards you. It may not be when you want it, but He'll give you somebody when you need it.
I remember one time I was going through a situation and he sent the most unexpected person to talk to me. And I was at work at that time and it was a manager that I did not like at all. I couldn't stand him. But God sent that man to talk to me. Afterwards I was like, really, Jesus? Like you picked him?
Well, the person that I don't like, you're gonna pick that.
Yeah.
He
He
does
just
that.
sent some unexpected people. Yeah. And when the guy started talking and I started listening, then I knew that it wasn't the guy talking because me and the guy
Yeah.
didn't get along. But I knew it was Jesus using this man to
Mhm.
talk to me.
Mhm.
But I was still like, okay, Jesus, you chose him.
Mhm. I know it does be like that. I don't know. He does that on purpose. I don't know why he chooses the people that we don't want to really associate with sometimes to get his point across. I don't know. I've always thought that was kind of strange, but it works.
Tell me about it. Especially, when it's coming from someone that you don't like, but there's a sense of caring in there.
Yeah, I know what
Because
you're talking. I
afterwards,
know what you're talking about.
we went back to like our usual relationship, but just like not really talking to each other. But
Yeah,
that one moment, and that was a God moment.
it stuck with you, didn't it?
Even all of these years later,
Just stuck with you. God is
yeah,
amazing.
help will come from unexpected places. And I think sometimes people don't realize that and ignore the help because they expect it to come from somewhere else.
Yep,
And that is a mistake
that makes
because
sense.
you need to look
Actually,
for your life. What makes it?
sometimes people will ignore the help
Oh,
because they figure they will come from somewhere else. Because I'm a person that did that before. That used to do that. Just ignore the help because I would expect it from somewhere else or from a specific person. Nope, that's not how it works. Not with God, at least. That is not how it works.
but I think when we want God to do what we want Him to do, first of all, that's being human. But we're trying to put a limit on God. And so expecting God to do it this way and not really paying attention to He's doing it over here,
Yeah.
we're putting a limit on it. And that sucks. I used to believe that the sky is the limit. And then I'm like, you know what? The sky is not the limit because that to me is putting a limit on God. You know what? It goes beyond that. The sky is not the limit. There is something beyond
There
that.
is no limit.
So no,
Just
I don't adhere to the sky is the limit because it's not.
mm-mm.
It's
That's
I'm
a
trusting
terrible
Him.
limit.
What was it?
terrible limit. God not that far away. You know, you could just look up, you'll see the sky. You know, it's a terrible limit. I've never thought of it that way. I have never thought of it as us limiting God because I just never saw it that way. But I will say for me, it seemed like every time I did that, I felt very disrespectful in a way. Like I felt like I was disrespecting Him, so I would just like back off. For me, saying no to God and no, I don't want to do that. No matter how nice you say it, was disrespectful. You need to listen. You need to listen to what I'm telling you to do. He's trying to help you. He's trying to help. And if you don't want to listen, you're just gonna face the consequences, and you're gonna make it harder on yourself.
True.
And I learned that the hard way. You just need to listen. Even if you don't want to do it, just listen. I really felt so bad that I did that. That I told him, like, no, I don't want to do this. I want to go this way, even though he's trying to push me this way to get me to where I need to be. It hurt me. I did not want to be disrespectful to him, especially because after all the things he have done for me. So it takes a little bit on me. It takes a little toll on me. That's why I feel like I was disrespectful and I was disobedient. But it may not seem like to somebody else, it may not seem like that. But just for me, that is how I was raised. If you say that, hey, I don't want to do something because I simply don't want to do it, or I think that this way would be better, it is considered disrespectful. That was my household. But I grew up with a lot of mature people. Let's just say that at a young age.
I like how you chose that word, mature people. We're gonna use that word.
I don't want to offend anybody.
We're not gonna offend the seasoned saints. We've all been disobedient children, even as adults. As long as we've accepted Christ, we're still God's children. Jesus died for everyone, not just certain people. Jesus gave his life for the world. So that includes the people who was dead and gone before he was born, even though Jesus, was in the spirit with God when the world was created, when he came in the flesh. Hold on, how did we get to Bible study?
Hey,
Oh, if I get anything wrong, nobody crucify me. You can put in the comments, hey, maybe you were mistaken just a little bit, but don't crucify me. Don't nail me to the cross.
me either.
We are not professed to be Bible scholars either. Yes, he gave his life for the sins of the world. So even the ones who put him on the cross, even for the ones who denied him, even for the ones who put the crown of thorns on his head, even for the one who stabbed him in his side while he was on the cross, even though he gave up his life already. He died for everyone. Even the people who was born and dead, well before he, was in Mary's womb in the flesh. He died for them as well. So even the ones who will come after him, he died for them as well. For the sins of the world. He didn't just choose, hey, I'm going to die for women, or hey, I'm going to die for men, or brown skinned people, or whatever. It wasn't that. It was for the sins of the world. So we, as people, like to pick and choose, be like, oh, no, that's not God's child. Well, okay, I personally believe that all people are
God's
God's
people.
children.
God's children. Yep.
But you can choose to not be obedient, or you can choose to follow Satan, but then the father of lies is your father. Because now you've denied God, you don't want nothing to do with God. It's like, you know what, forget you, God, I'm going to go with Satan. And some people don't necessarily say those words, but their actions
Their
speak
actions speak louder than their words.
but that's just my opinion. I'm not gonna say, hey, this is in the book of whatever, chapter whatever, because I don't know all of that. I just want to say thank you, Zanye, for doing this.
You're welcome. I'm happy to do it anytime.
This is the end of it. Love you guys. Be safe, be careful. And this is a wrap, as they would say in Hollywood.